How's it going, everyone? So here's my second video talking about the new PS3 exploit version 3. This is of course the latest exploit for the PS3 scene, and it allows for backups to be run on all PlayStation Slims and Super Slim consoles. So if you're new to this, make sure you check out my first PS3 exploit version 3 video first, as that fully explains how to install it and everything. In today's video we've got a lot to get through. Specifically going to be going over how to install PlayStation 3 backups, but some other things we're going to be looking at in this video are the new PlayStation 3 Han Toolbox version 3, which is basically a new, faster way of running the exploits every time. Then we're going to be looking at the problem of how to work with files that are over 4GB in size that won't go onto a FAT32 USB drive. And we're also going to be looking at a new, faster and easier way of activating PKG games with the RIF files. It's a nice new technique that should save us a lot of time. And hopefully in this video I'll also be going over how to convert a PS3 backup from Blu-ray folder format into a PKG file which will be installable. And depending on time we may also have a look at C00 format games. Those are demos with unlockable content, and they install a little bit differently to other PSN and PS3 games. Okay, so just before we get started, we'll talk about what games can be installed with the PS3 exploit version 3. So as I mentioned a little bit, there is some support for Blu-ray games, PlayStation Network games, and C00 unlockable games. However, something you need to know about Blu-ray games, that is games that were only released on disc, not the PlayStation Network, supposedly these games are only going to work on PS3 exploit version 3 if there was an update available for those games. So that's like a patch from the PSN. An update for those games needs to be available. If the game never received an update, you may still be able to install it if the game was re-released into the PlayStation Network store. Apparently there is a way you can check if an update is available for a game by opening the PS3 tool suite and starting PS3 updates. You can type your game into the search and the tool will tell you if that game has an update or not available. So just something to keep in mind for games that only came out on Blu-ray anyway. Alright team, so we'll kick things off first with the new Han Toolbox, as that'll help us save time on all the upcoming steps. So make sure you have your USB drive handy, and let's head over to the computer. Alright, so on your computer, hit up the first link in the video description, and that'll be a link to the Han support files. Now we did use these in the last video, but they've since received an update which sort of enables this Han Toolbox to work. So we definitely want to make sure we have the latest versions of the files. Also make sure to hit up the second link in the description, which is a link to download the Han Toolbox PKG file. So then connect your USB to the computer, open up the Han support files zip here, and just extract all of these files to the root of your USB drive again, and replace everything, because as you can see, this is a newer version. So I'm going to replace all of those files. Perfect. And we'll also move the Han Toolbox PKG file over to the USB drive as well. And with that done, you can eject the USB drive from your computer, put it back in the PS3, and let's switch to the console again. Alright, so now over on the PlayStation 3, make sure that you're signed into the secondary account that we created in the last video. You should always be on this account when you run Homebrew. Now in here, the first thing that we need to do is we're going to run the Han installer again. So hit up your internet browser. Okay, so in your browser, you're going to want to push start and head to ps3exploit.com, just the main page. Then come up to the top where you've got your Han tools and just look for Han installer. And that should bring you to this page. So from here, we're just going to click on initialize Han installer. Hopefully you get the success message, and then just click on launch Han installation. Now just like last video, if you do get a failure here, you can close your browser, open it back up, and hopefully you have more luck than next time. Now when you successfully install that, your PlayStation 3 system is going to automatically reboot. And the reason we're installing again is because only the latest versions of Han will actually support the toolbox we're about to install. So when your system's back on, sign back into your dummy account. Head back to your internet browser, because we need to re-enable Han at this point. So I'm just heading back to the PS3 exploit page, come into the Han tools. So choose Han enabler, and then click on initialize Han enabler. Perfect, so when you get the Han enabler initialized successfully message, you can just click on enable Han, it'll close your browser. Okay, so then you're going to need to go to your package manager, click on install package files, click standard from the root of your USB drive, and just go ahead and install your Han Toolbox PKG. And when that's done, back in the game list below Package Manager, you should now see a Han Toolbox option. Now this is pretty handy. In here there's a lot of functionality. You can soft reboot your console. Clicking this HAN enabler will actually go ahead and start up the HAN enabler page. You won't have to use your internet browser to do it anymore, so that's pretty handy. There's also a HAN functions option here, which will let you soft reboot, hard reboot, switch off your console. There's the HAN installer, a license dumper, injector, and debug package enabler. There's also some functionality here for DeX consoles. There's even a file explorer. So in here you're actually able to browse the folders of your PS3 and delete files. Just be really careful if you do that, because you could damage your system. And there's also the option here to install packages from a web server, which is what we're about to get into. So having that HAN toolbox is great because, like I said, it's a more simple way of starting the HAN exploit each time you power on your console. Okay, so moving on to the next thing. We've got a lot to get through this video. Now we're going to be looking at the newest way of activating the PKG format games. There's a much simpler way, so we don't have to type in that RIF name. If you saw my last video, that was probably the most annoying step. So first thing you'll need to do is download the PS3 exploit Resigner version 2 tool. Last video we looked at version 1.3, now we have version 2. So go ahead and extract this tool. That should give you a new version 2 folder. Now hopefully you've watched my last video. You'll need to open up your version 1.3 folder, and in here look for your act.dat and your IDPS files. These are the system specific files that we dumped last video. Go ahead and copy these, open up your version 2 folder and paste them inside the RifGen master folder in here. Once you have those files in place, the act and IDPS files in the new version 2 folder, you can get rid of your 1.3 folder at that point. And you might as well delete the version 2 zip as well. Okay, so we're about to use the new method with the Resigner version 2 to sign the games much easier. Off to the right of my screen here, you'll see I've got 4 different example types of games, which we're hopefully going to get through all in this video. So first one we're going to install is Resident Evil 0 Remaster. This is a sub 4 GB game, so we're able to use a USB drive to do this. Later on in the video we're going to be looking at Resident Evil 1 Remaster. Now this file is over 4 GB, so I'll need to show you guys the method for installing files that are greater than 4 GB. Obviously they can't go onto a FAT32 formatted USB drive, which is all your PS3 can recognize because they're too large for the file system. So we'll take a look at how to do that in a moment. Then I've got 3D Dot Game Heroes here. This is a Blu-ray dump format PS3 game, and it has an update available. So we should be able to convert this Blu-ray dump into a PKG format and still be able to play that on our Super Slim consoles thanks to PS3 exploit. And the final thing I'd like to look at is how to run COO, that is unlockable demo games which come from the PlayStation Store. So definitely a lot to get through. Let's keep moving. Like I mentioned, we're going to be looking at Resident Evil 0 first. So in the PS3 Resigner tool version 2, come into your RifGen master folder and go ahead and move your package file into this folder. Then open up the wraps folder, and you can delete the 2 wraps that are in there by default, and go ahead and move your wrap file for the PKG game into that wraps file. Anytime you're activating games, you'll need to put the wrap files into this wraps folder. Okay, so with your PKG file in place and your wrap file in place, go ahead and drag your PKG file over the EDAT resign tool and run it. This screen here should come up, and we're just going to let it run through this whole process. Now the larger your game is, the longer this process is going to take. As we saw before, Resident Evil 0 is about 3.8 GB, so this might take a minute to run through the whole process, but just let it do its thing until it says the PKG has been signed. Okay, so eventually it's going to come up saying PKG signed. Since this is a bit of a larger game, it did take a few minutes there. When that's done, you can close out of the tool. Now, making sure that you have your wrap file correctly in place, go ahead and delete the original PKG file. Make sure you keep the one that says _signed at the end of its name. With all of that done, we can click on resign_all.bat, run the file, and this screen here will come up. Now, what it's going to do is a few things. First, it's detected our wrap file in that folder and converted it to a RIF. Then push enter. We'll push enter again. Press any key to continue. And now it goes ahead and it kind of injects that RIF into the PKG file. So it should say PKG signed when it's finished. Push enter again. And yeah, that's complete. So we can close it at this point. Now if we look in the file here, you'll see there's a RIF installer file without signed at the end. So you can go ahead and delete that one. And there's a RIF installer with the underscore signed at the end. So this is the one we want. Great, so now that we have these two files, go ahead and connect your USB back to your computer. Now we're going to move both the signed PKG for the game and the signed PKG for the RIF. Just copy them to the root of your USB drive. And when they're finished copying, you can eject the USB from your computer, connect it to the PS3, and let's switch back to the system. Alright, so back on the PS3, make sure you're in your dummy account. Make sure Han is running. Since I just rebooted my PS3, I'm going to come into Han Toolbox, come into Han Enabler, and you'll see this is a much simpler way of starting the exploit. As soon as Han is running, you can come back to Package Manager. We're going to install package files, standard, and you should see your game and the RIF file. So go ahead and install the game first. This will take a moment depending on the size. Great, so after a while the game will finish installing. You should be able to see it in the game list at this point, but it's still not going to launch without the activation stuff. So let's go back for Package Manager, install, standard. Now just choose the RIF installer. This will only take a moment. And just like that, we have now activated the game and it should run. So as you can see, team, with that RIF package file installed, the game loads right up. Obviously this saves us a lot of time compared to running the old Han act RIF copier. You no longer need to type that RIF file name in. So this is great. Saves time and effort. Alright, so now that we've covered how to install PSN games that are under 4 GB in size, let's take a look at how to install games that are greater than 4 GB. Okay, so back on the PC, this time we're going to be looking at a large game. So Resident Evil HD Remaster 7.3 gig, and I've got the PKG and the RAP file here ready to go. We're going to use PKG Linker to achieve the task of installing a game bigger than 4 gig. As official firmware PS3s can only use FAT32 formatted drives, obviously we can't get the game across using the USB. So make a folder and we'll call it PKG. Now we're going to open up the PS3 Exploit Resigner tool again, come into RIFGen Master. Just for demonstration's sake, I'm going to put Resident Evil 0 into this PKG folder. I just want to show you guys that it can be used for multiple things at once. I'll delete this other old RIF PKG. And into my RAPs folder here, I'll delete my existing Resident Evil 0 stuff. So I'm going to put the Resident Evil 1 RAP in the RAPs folder, and I'm going to move the game into the RIFGen Master folder. So just like last time, we do need to do the signing process, so let's go ahead and sign Resident Evil HD Remaster. This will take a minute or two. Okay, so a few minutes later, it should say PKG signed. You can close the tool. Now, same as last time, you can delete the existing PKG file if you want and just keep the signed one. Great, now at this point, because we've got the RAP file already in the RAPs folder, we can just click Resign All, and just like last time, it'll come up with it's done, push enter button twice, push any key to continue, and just like that, it's going to patch the RAP file into an installable RIF PKG file. So we'll delete the first one and just keep the signed package. So here's two more package files we're wanting to install. So we'll go ahead and move these, both the game and the RIF package, to the PKG file that we made. You can close the Resigner tool. Now, next link in the video description is going to be for PKG Linker. So make sure that you download this file and place it in the folder with your other package files. Now at this point, just go ahead and run PKG Linker and run the program. So it'll come up here saying export files and start serving packages now. We'll hit yes. Next thing that comes up is extracting files now. Push OK. So it may take a moment to bring up this next prompt here. Would you like to use the built-in server? Hit yes. And then continue to Apache installer. Do not change the settings comes up. We'll go OK. So now this installation screen comes up. Just go ahead and install it. This is a nice portable version of Apache. And we'll just click finished. So the last thing that comes up here is resign with PS3 Exploit Resigner. We'll go yes. It comes up with the screen saying that the package has been signed. So we'll X out of this one. Files saved. We'll go OK. Now it'll come up saying server is running with your IP address. Push OK to continue. So at this point I can see the portable Apache has loaded up here, and my Windows firewall has come up as well. I'm going to allow access for the Apache HTTP server. We don't want it blocked by the firewall. And keep this portable screen running here. It's the web server. So we'll click OK. And now here's how the tool looks. You can see it's detected all 3 of the package files that I put in. Resident Evil and the signed package file. And then it's also got Resident Evil 0 around there as well. And it also shows the IP address up here. So basically, each time you run Package Linker, you can put more package files in here and then choose File, Save List Package in XML, and it's going to generate you a new package list file. So the package list file references the total number of package files on your computer in the folder and gets it ready for the PS3 to install. So at this point, we're going to insert the USB back to the computer. So here's my USB again. Now with the USB file, all we really need is the package list package. We're just going to take that package file, place it into the root of the USB, then we can eject the USB and switch back to the PlayStation 3. Okay, so same drill as before. You need to make sure that Han is running on your PlayStation 3. So really quickly, I'll just hit up Han Enabler. And with that done, we can go to Package Manager, install package files, standard, and install package list. That won't take long, and at this point we'll push circle to back out. You could now come back into Package Manager, and in here you'll see install packages from web server. So what this does is it basically talks to your computer, and now the computer is serving all of these package files, including Resident Evil 1, which is the 7.4 GB game. So before I transfer this file across, I should go ahead and recommend, if you can connect an Ethernet cable or a network cable to your PlayStation 3, it's highly recommended to do so, because that way you'll get higher speeds and it's just a little bit more stable than trying to serve the file over the wireless link. So if you can hook your PlayStation 3 up to the router with an Ethernet cable, go ahead and do that for higher speeds. When everything's ready, you can push X on the game, X on the package file, and on the screen just push X again. It'll say to use this feature you must download the software. Do you want to download now? We'll go yes. And here we can see the transfer has begun. And so eventually you'll get to the install completed screen. And sure enough, you should see this game available in your XMB as well. So of course, you're also going to need to install the activation file. So I've got it here. This one won't take nearly as long.
Hey, Wesker, where's Chris?
Jill, no. You don't want to go back out there.
But we've got to find...
What was that? Chris?
No.
Jill, go and investigate.
Perfect, so now you can see that the Resident Evil game, which was 8 GB in size, is now running on my PlayStation 3. Okay, so now you know how to work with games that are larger than 4 GB in size. Next up, let's talk about Blu-ray formatted games. So again, just a reminder, they say that in order for a Blu-ray format game to work, it's going to need to have been updated in the past. So if the game didn't receive an update, it might not be supported with the PS3 exploit version 3 yet. So anyway, I've got here 3D Dot Game Heroes. Now this is a Blu-ray folder dump. If you have a PS3 Blu-ray in ISO format, you'll need to mount it and then extract these contents out to a folder. So now there's 2 downloads we're going to need. We're going to need the Make Backup PKG. So I'll be sure to include a link in the description for this one. Also, we're going to need the Custom Firmware to Official Firmware Helper tool. So we'll just make a folder. Call it CFW to OFW, and we'll put all these files in the folder here. Okay, so I did actually have to change games there to Dark Souls. As it turned out, the game I was using didn't get an update in my region. No big deal though. So once your game's in here, run the CFW to OFW helper executable, and now it comes up saying that it's found 4 patches for my game Dark Souls. Size of the updates looks like 418 megabytes. It says depending on your internet speed this could take a while, and now it's downloading the updates. So just let it run through this process. Okay, so after a moment there, it's come up and it says done in all of its steps there. It says press any key to exit, so we'll do that. Now you can see in the folder, it's created a folder for your game name. Now in here there's two folders. One will be the updates. The other one will be another folder for your actual game here. So when it's finished and we have these folders, we're going to move them both into the make backup pkg folder. Move them in here like this and then run the do.bat. It'll come up here, it'll find your folders, and then it'll say creating game pkg. So after some time it'll show it successfully created pkgs. Push any key to exit. Now in the make backup pkg folder we can see there's 3 new pkg files. So the first one is the full game, second one is the update patch, and the third one is licensing data. So we're going to take all 3 of these new pkgs that it just created and we're going to put them into our resigner RifGen master folder. So go ahead and move all 3 of these packages in here, and now we're going to drag each one of them onto the RifGen EDAT resign tool, because all 3 of them need to be signed before they can be installed with PS3 Exploit version 3. So here's the first one. Eventually it might come up saying decrypting debug pkg, like mine is. Just leave it to do its thing, it will use your CPU throughout. Okay, so it did take a couple of minutes there. After decrypting it went to encrypting, and now just leave it until it says pkg signed like this, then you can close. I'll delete the original. Keep the one that says underscore signed. Now let's move on to the second one, the patch. So that's 2 down. Last one. We'll get rid of the non-signed one. And thirdly is the license. And that one was pretty much instant. So now you can either move all 3 signed pkgs to USB. How big is this? It's 4.6, so this is actually going to be too big for a FAT32 hard drive. So I'm going to do the network step again. I'll save you guys the details since you've already seen that and show you when I'm installing them. Alright, so on your PlayStation 3, go ahead and enable Han if it's not already. You'll need to install all 3 of those packages we just created. So you can either install these from the web if they're large, or through USB if they're under 4 gigabytes. Alright, so there's the game installed. Now for the patch. And third, we need to install the license. So as you can see, Dark Souls has also been added to my XMB and it works just fine. Now I've heard that you can also grab the DLC for these games and then just re-sign them and then install the DLC package as well, and it should work, provided that the DLC is for the same game ID or the same region as the game you've installed. It should match up and just work fine. I haven't actually tested that yet, but some people that I know have tested it and they say that it works fine, so that's pretty cool. Alright, so the last thing on the list here to talk about is how to install unlock COO games. So those are games that they kind of have like a demo mode, and then you sort of pay for the game and you get a full download from that point. So there's quite a large list of COO games out there. I'll include a list in the description which shows all the games you can get through this method. Now all we need to do is grab this unlock COO package file. You can download this file from the description as well. And we're going to need to sign it like all the other package files we've used in this video. So we'll move it in here. We'll sign it with resigner. You can see it's going through a very long list of EDAT files, so just let it do its thing. Okay, so there it is, pkg signed. Let's delete the non-signed one. So here's the signed one. I'm going to copy this. We need to insert the USB again and just paste it in the root of your USB drive. With that done, you can eject USB, put it back in your PS3, and let's switch back to the console now. Alright, so on the PS3, make sure you're signed into your dummy account, because we are going to be using the PSN in a moment. Make sure you have Han enabled. Come through to Package Manager. We're going to install package files standard, and just install the unlock COO package. Perfect. So with that done, all we need to do is sign into the PlayStation Network and load up the PlayStation Store. Now in the PlayStation Store, we need to search for the game you're wanting to install. Now, I'm going to look for Resident Evil Revelations 2. Now look for the demo version of your game. So I can see for Resident Evil Revelations 2, it's got Episode 1 Penal Colony. So you need to find the demo for the COO game you're looking for. And just go ahead and install the game like any other PlayStation Network game. Okay, so once your demo has finished installing, just go ahead and close the PlayStation Store. When you're back in XMB, go ahead and push triangle on account management and then just choose sign out. We need to sign out of the PSN. Now come into game, and somewhere in here you should find your demo that you've just installed. Now since we've already installed that package, just go ahead and run the game. And I believe this somehow actually enables the COO game to unlock. So I can see there's an update. So we'll just go ahead and install that. Now Revelations 2 gave me some trouble, but just installing the PKG file again after having the game installed seems to have unlocked the full game here now. So you can see I don't have the purchase nag, it's showing the full game available now. So it seems to have worked. I've also tested this with Street Fighter 3, Third Strike, same process, just got the demo, and then the game seemed to unlock straight away.
Into the heat of battle, go for it.
Alright team, so that's everything I wanted to cover in this video. We sure did get a lot done. So I hope that's everything you wanted to know regarding PlayStation 3 backups on the PS3 Exploit version 3. And if there's anything else you're keen to see, just let me know in the comments. So a lot of you have requested that I also do a video talking about how to get PS2 and PSP backups running with this exploit. So since enough of you want to see it, I'll be sure to make my next PS3 upload focus on just that. So anyways, hope this video has helped you out. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing.